Last week, the city of Maricopa came together for the largest community cleanup campaign in the city's history. Individuals from all walks of life rallied and walked throughout their community, picking up litter in a vow to keep Maricopa beautiful. We received dozens of emails from groups showcasing their efforts to keep Maricopa beautiful by collecting multiple bags of litter during the 2-hour-only event. To learn more about the next community cleanup event, please visit keepmaricopabeautiful.com.
Good morning, City of Maricopa. We are standing on the north side of town on State Route 347, which is the main entrance into the City of Maricopa. Over the last few years, we've seen tremendous growth with residential and commercial. As growth continues, it gives us the opportunity to do additional projects, one of which is a landscaping project down the 347. It'll go from Honeycutt Road to the north entries of town. This includes trees, landscaping, rock boulders, some metal art deco. There will be some lighted metal structures all the way down the median. When you pull into the north side of town, we're going to have an impressive monument right in the middle of the road that represents the city of Maricopa, which has been well needed for many years. This project has been years, maybe even decades in the making, with city council and citizens' requests and responses to increase the beautification of coming into town. We'd like to thank each one of you for the time, effort, energy, and the patience of getting this done. We look forward to having this project completed by the end of the year.
Hi, good morning. This is Mayor Christian Price and Councilman Rich Vitiello. We are here at the grand opening of the new community center, which hosts a wing for the veterans and also a wing for the seniors, so a senior center, as well as a middle area that is a community center where all types of different things can be hosted, or either of those organizations can overflow into it. This is a very exciting day as the seniors have waited long and hard for a dedicated location where they could come and socialize and play cards and do things and have a location that was truly theirs. And so it's a very special day for them and for the veterans and really for the entire city of Maricopa.
I also want to thank the past and present councils, city managers, everybody, mayors. I don't want to leave everybody out, council members. But without all that prior, today wouldn't have happened. And as I said earlier, without our veterans, we wouldn't be here today. And again, God bless you and thank you for getting us to where we are and living in this greatest country in the world.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call the March 28th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Invocation by Commissioner Sharp, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Frank. Please stand. Irving, sorry. I keep doing that. At least I don't call you late for dinner, right? Right.
Many blessings and all you have done, do, and will continue to do for us. Father, we just ask you to be with us, to guide us during our discussion tonight. And also, Father, we, as a community, city, just ask you to reach out to the people still in Ukraine and for the refugees who've lost their families, and just be with them and support them. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaFall?
Here.
Commissioner Yocum?
Here.
Vice Chair Sharp?
Here.
Chair Huggins?
Here.
Commissioner Irving?
Here.
Commissioner Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Robertson?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, item number 3, call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and submit to the chairman prior to the start of the meeting. The procedures to follow if you address a commission are: commission requests that you express your ideas in 5 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks or derogatory comments, statements about any city employee, fellow citizen, or anyone else, whether in the audience or not. The chairman will limit discussions whenever she deems such an action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. If you'd like to speak, please step forward. Ready then. All right, we've got a couple speaker cards. Dave, it looks like you want to speak on 5.5. That is a public hearing, so we'll let you speak during that one, just in the interest of time. And the same way with Kristen, 5.5, we'll let you speak during the public hearing on that one. And then I do have one for Michael on traffic. So if you'd like to, is it on agenda item or just general? On up. Podium.
Yes, my name is Michael Berry, and I'm in Stanfield and Santa Rosa Ranchos, and I'm just concerned about the traffic situation of the developments, not only on Anderson Road, but in the Maricopa area. We're concerned with the railroad traffic on Anderson Road, and they're trying to put thousands of cars across that per day. It's not going to work. It's going to restrict ambulance and the fire and the police department access to those properties. And on top of that, the Arizona law states that the railroad can block the road for up to 15 minutes at a time. And that's an important situation, because if somebody needs an ambulance or you need the fire trucks, you can't get through there. There's no close alternate route. And my further suggestion is that maybe Maricopa ought to consider basing a life flight helicopter in this area, because there's no easy way out of town sometimes. If 347 is blocked, people need an ambulance and in their critical condition, they can't get there. The same holds true with the Maricopa-Casa Grande Highway and Anderson Road. If the railroad is there blocking the access, can't get in or can't get out. And so I'd just like the planning and zoning people to keep this in mind for future developments, because there has to be some provision for traffic flow. And 6,000 homes possibly could mean 12,000 vehicles a day 12,000 vehicles a day across the railroad tracks, it's not going to work. It's going to be a huge congestion problem. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, the other two we'll keep for 5.5. Anybody else? Not, we will go ahead and close the call to the public. All right. Item 4.1, the minutes. Approval of the minutes from the January 10th, 2022 meeting and February 14th, 2022. Discussion and action. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So moved. 5.1 and 5.2, I need a motion to go ahead and have these items tabled. And then we're going to table them indefinitely, and the reason being is the fact that the city of Maricopa, when this first started, owned this property, and it does no longer own this property. So if these things need to happen or wants to happen, then the new owner would have to then submit to the city for these changes.
So you're asking for a motion to table?
Correct.
I move we table 5.1 and 5.2.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor? Oh, Nick?
Can we get clarification? Who seconded the motion?
All right, any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, guys, thank you. 5.3, PAD 22-02, public hearing, a request by the City of Maricopa for review and approval of a request to rezone approximately 6 acres of land from general rural GR to planned area development PAD, generally located on the northwest corner of West Garvey Avenue and North Wilson Avenue. Discussion and action.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Rick Williams, Planning and Zoning Manager. If y'all will bear with me for just a second, we've got the wrong presentation up there, and we should have it here in just a moment. I would do a little song and dance, but y'all wouldn't want to see that.
No, I'll just eat a Snickers.
All right, here we go. All right, this is probably going to look pretty familiar to y'all in that we just saw this site and you approved the site plan for it just I believe it was December, if I'm not mistaken. So what we're doing now is we're coming back through and we're just tidying thing up, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and getting this ready to go. We expected to have groundbreaking any day now, but I believe it's going to be delayed just a little bit. But this is a request by the City of Maricopa to rezone approximately 6 acres of land from general rural to planned area development for the new public facility located at the northwest corner of Garvey Avenue and Wilson Avenue. With respect to the zoning process, we're in the entitlement phase here, and we're just beginning that. We have circumvented it just a bit in that we already have DRP review for that and approval, which this body yielded, as I stated back in December. So just a little more information. It's 6 acres in size. It's currently vacant. The proposed use is the joint Maricopa public safety facility. General plan land use for the site is commercial, and the existing zoning as we speak right now is general rural. If I could direct your attention to the exhibit on the left, I've just got a current zoning map for you here, which is showing the industrial zoning district to the south there, and then surrounded by a general rural zone. What we're requesting today is to rezone the subject site there to planned area development, which would be that light gray area, and then again the general rural zoning surrounding the site. More specifically, as you can see right there in the location, there's the yellow star is the center of it. If you look just to the east, you'll see the Maricopa Justice Facility. To the south, we have the Southern Pacific Railroad. To the north, single-family residential, as well as vacant undeveloped land to the west. This is the site plan that y'all approved back in December. You can see to the east is the front of the building, circulation around the, to the north and to the south, with, if you recall, impound yard to the south there. I'm sorry, to the west, commissioners, and then that vacant retention area up to the northwest corner there. There's a future indoor shooting range there as well. Taking a look at the elevations, they've the city has requested and actually spent a lot of time on the elevations, just creating not only a public safety facility that, one, is safe, not only for the residents of the community, but for the officers and the staff inside the building. But what you can see and what really jumps out at you, I think, is that there are a lot of edges to the building. There's a lot of movement in the facades. It's got a very warm, rich color palette, and really makes just a vivid use of the site and the colors and materials, blending them all together. It's got a kind of a contemporary look to it in an older neighborhood, but the colors of the palette will certainly blend in with the Justice Center across the street and the Pinal County offices as well. With respect to public participation, as required by the zoning code, the applicant, the city of Maricopa, conducted a neighborhood meeting for this. Sign was posted on the property and an ad was placed in the newspaper February 17th, 2022. Notification letters were sent out to all property owners and stakeholders within a 600-foot radius on February 10th as well. We conducted a neighborhood meeting actually right in these premises here on the 9th of March, 2022. There were no members of the public that were present at that meeting. And with respect to additional public comments at the writing of this meeting, or at the writing of the staff report for this meeting, we've had no additional conversation or contact from the public. With that being said, staff finds that the submittal meets, is in substantial compliance with, all of the prevailing requirements as well as the zoning code. And therefore, we're recommending approval of PAD 2202, subject to the conditions that are contained in your staff report this evening. Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can.
All right, before we go that far, let me go ahead and get the public hearing portion of this over with. Again, this is a public hearing, so if you have any questions, or if you have any statements on that, you're more than welcome to approach the podium. We will open the public hearing at 6:16. In no movement, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, so we will go out to internet to see if there's any questions from the commissioners. Commissioner LaFalle.
No questions.
Commissioner Sharp.
No questions. Only comment I would make is that we talked about this previously at our other meeting. The elevations look good, and I think this will make a great addition to the city of Maricopa. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, let's go in-house. Commissioner Yoakum?
No comments.
Irving?
No comments.
Frank?
Nope, no comments.
Robertson?
When we built the shopping center over there where Sprouts is, we ran into a problem with fire water, meeting required fire flow. I just want to make sure that that's on the radar, that the incoming water supply will meet the requirements to flow both hydrants at the same time.
Yeah. Madam Chair, Commissioner Robertson, excellent question. You're absolutely right on your observation. I can tell you that that there's been a great deal of effort put in with not only designs, we've been in contact with both water districts. We learned our lessons from the past and are currently working on that loop system now so we don't have those same problems.
Very good, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, now I'm going to just echo what Commissioner Sharp has said. Great project. I think it's going to be a great addition.
I think it will be too, ma'am.
With that being said, this is required action as well. I will entertain a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, 5.4 TXT 21-032, public hearing, a request by the City of Maricopa for review and approval of the city's first multifamily residential design guidelines, discussion and action. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a revisit because we didn't have it agendized right the first time.
You are right, Chair Huggins. Thank you so much. Good evening, Byron Easton, Senior Planner. Good to see everybody again. So yes, if you thought the last one was familiar, this is very, very familiar to you. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. However, I just want to commend the commissioners that sent their comments over to me. Really appreciate that. Since we tabled it originally, we received quadruple the amount of comments. So I feel that it was a good move to get a little bit more time, open it up to some more comment, a longer comment period. So I think what we have now is a very good, comprehensive, up-to-speed, competitive with the other cities in the valley document. So let's go through it real quick again. Just a quick recap. This is a request by the city. This is our first edition of the multifamily residential design guidelines. You'll remember we passed the single-family residential design guidelines last year. And this is just, we're trying to keep up with the ever-changing development practices. As we all know, we have a lot of multifamily that are coming down the pipe, and we've actually already started using this document in our pre-app stage and our formal reviews. We received, originally it was 1 or 2, so as of the latest comment period, we have 10 individual stakeholder comments. We received comments from internal staff, external stakeholders, like I mentioned, the several members of the development community and the commissioners themselves. The comments will be incorporated into the draft and be presented to City Council on April 19th for City Council action. Public outreach, several different 30-day public review periods were conducted. We posted it on the city website. We had several comments from community members through that. One comment was received during the latest 30-day review period. I'm sorry, through the first one, only one comment. The second 30-day public review period was initiated, and we had 10 additional comments that were received, and also 2 markup versions or edited versions from the public. The majority of the public comments were general in nature, but several residents did express their opposition to more multifamily housing within the city of Maricopa. However, the residents stated that if we do allow more multifamily, as they thought was probably inevitable, we should focus on quality design, connecting them to shopping centers, so pedestrian connectivity, integrating them with local commercial opportunities. The residents desire nice landscaping, warm, inviting colors, and a luxury name. Several residents are asking for consideration of elderly and handicapped residents, allowing preferential access, elevators, and parking for those in need. Please see the staff report for more details on that. 2 markup files were also submitted. The markup files focused on increased definitions and specific dimensions and requirements for site features. Staff would point out that most, if not all, of these considerations are currently covered by our zoning ordinance. Commenters also asked for more specific design considerations, including the use of multiple textures, not just stucco pop-outs, but actual materials, stone facades, metal, things of that nature. Brick cladding, metal siding, stone, etc. One commenter found fault with the design of the bioretention area in the low impact development section. So we made a change to that. The commenter also stated that the bioretention basins will cause more problems than good and will not be adequate to handle required site retention. So it should be noted that most of these developments are going to have, in addition to the bioretention basins, a lot of them have underground retention and things like that to handle excess amounts of water. But for just a rainfall like today, those bioretentions can really do a really bang-up job, and they look nice. So staff has addressed many of these concerns and by the residents, and will take any further direction from B&Z when drafting the final draft for the City Council hearing next month. With that said, we do recommend approval of case number TXT 21-03 as proposed by staff, and the comments received from the public and the commissioners to be shared with the City Council for their review and approval. Sorry. And that is all.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we will go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:23. If you'd like to make any comments, please step forward. No movement, we'll close the public hearing. All right, commissioners, this is action as well. We'll start outside. Commissioner LaFall, any comments, questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you for their presentation, Byron. I think when this was initially presented to us late last year, we were going into the Christmas holiday break. So I just want to say thank you for your patience. Thank you for taking the additional time to get at least some additional comments. Now, 10 comments is not a million, but I think it was a step in the right direction to make sure that on a contentious issue like we have with multifamily, its genesis in the city of Maricopa, this was an important first step to make sure that we gave plenty of time for the public to have plenty of input on the direction that we go as a city. So again, I just want to commend city staff for taking that additional time, the additional steps, and I think ultimately we're going to end up with a better product for it. So thank you again for that, and I really like the direction we're heading.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's come inside and let's go on this side this time. Commissioner. Yeah, we're going to go that way. I'm going to mix it up.
Byron, I don't see in other city documents that applies to this. Is that correct?
A marketing formula?
Parking formula?
Oh, parking formula. So the parking is covered through our zoning ordinance.
That's what I thought.
There are some site design elements in the manual about where the parking should be, and in the back, hidden, kind of not up in front, so hidden as much as possible.
So parking is codified somewhere else, not in the guidelines.
Correct,
And
Commissioner Robertson.
Structured parking, does that count as part of the formula for interior, inside structural
Correct.
parking?
We do have parts of our zoning ordinance that would cover covered parking as well, structured parking. Thank you.
Commissioner Frank.
Yeah, good job with the guidelines. One thought I had was regarding the landscape and the tree palette. It references the Maricopa tree palette, which at this point is kind of weak. There's just 6 trees on it. So I think we should strike that or come up with a more robust tree palette and suggest that you look at the ADWR's guidelines for that kind of thing. That's my only comment.
Thank you. I noted that, and I think that's a good idea in general to update our tree palette and expand it.
Commissioner Irving.
5, I like the idea as far as surveillance is concerned. Could you just speak a little about that? Spaces with ambiguous ownership should be placed within the control of the individual units. How it...
So that would include spaces that aren't specifically owned by individuals in the community, so HOA areas, common corridors, view corridors, things like that. So just taking ownership of those areas as, you know, meeting places, gathering places, eyes on them at all times. So we don't want what we call creepy corridors, which are dark kind of areas that, you know, we want to keep areas well lit so residents can keep their eyes on the community.
So who would enforce that? Then the HOA or?
I'm going to push back right there for a second, because this is a multifamily. There is no HOA. It would be like an
Property
apartment complex.
management group, something like that. So yeah, sorry, not an HOA, but a property management company that manages the apartment complex themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept because people always tend to comment about issues of crime in apartments, and I think the whole concept is a great one. I just saw it was there, but then I wasn't a little, you know, when it said ambiguous, I don't like that word, but I understand what you mean. But
So I would just Commissioner Irving, I would classify those ambiguous areas as just common space.
okay, I like the concept. The intent obviously is for safety.
Right.
It's just it sort of threw me off when you left a caveat about ambiguous and whatever. Okay, that's all.
Yeah,
I can clarify the language if you would like.
However you do it,
Okay.
so it doesn't leave it doesn't appear that, oh yeah, all these areas are ambiguous, so there's no surveillance there. That's all
I understand. Maybe more specific.
Yeah, just to make sure that
common areas as opposed to ambiguous
to make
areas.
sure that all of it is going to be covered by surveillance, which was obviously your intent. That's all.
Okay.
I think to Jim's point, excuse me, Commissioner Irving's point, I think ambiguous definitely needs to be more defined. But I also think that we need to remove the verbiage that says within the control of individual units and put that in the control of, basically, if it's, you know, in this case, it would be management or whatever it is that you want to call it. Unfortunately, I overlooked this part. I didn't see this, but great catch, because there is no individual units. These are not individually owned. This is a multifamily complex.
Yes, I think the whole statement needs to be, the whole number 5 needs to be reworked.
It just needs to be, the intent is great.
Right. The language is ambiguous.
Yeah, well, we need to...
Couldn't multifamily also include condominiums, things like that may have an ownership component?
Commissioner Sharp, yeah, correct.
But even if you're right, Commissioner Sharp, but they still, the part that's individually, there is no part that's individually owned other than if in a condominium complex, you just basically own the air, you don't own the building, nor the surrounding.
Well, I don't want to beat it to death. I think you got my point. I totally feel you can correct it without us trying to micromanage it up here. So we're fine.
Yeah, okay, noted. Commissioner Huggins, I'm sorry, Chair Huggins, Commissioner Irving, I think the intent of the statement is that areas that are not specifically controlled or surveyed by cameras or someone has eyes on them all the time, the individual people that live in the community should have ownership in a way that they kind of are keeping an eye on those areas as if they did own them. So that's kind of...
You don't want to do that. I think your original issue was just put somebody with a little more authority.
I think we need timeout. We're done with that.
Yeah, we're done. You know what
And if not, you can talk to legal, though.
Otherwise, you'll have
we'll figure it out.
Vigilante communities or whatever.
We don't need no vigilante. Exactly, Commissioner.
All right.
We don't need vigilantes.
I'm good.
We'll reword it.
There you go. A couple points that I wanted to make. Great job again. I do like the fact that we received additional comments. I think that the pause that we were forced to have and wanted to have was good. I think there was a comment of we've only received 10, but that was 10 more than we had when we did the first time. So I think that was awesome. And I do have to apologize, Commissioner Yoakum, I'll let you comment before I close it. Sorry.
I'd like to talk about parking. I realize that the zoning code addresses the needs and how many spaces we need. There's various guidelines there. But in the past, we have had presentations with multi-housing situations where that parking need was not adequately met, and it was obvious in the presentation that it had not been adequately met. And I think we have to pay more attention to that. Also, I think we should be looking, as the zoning code requires, that how many spaces, what formula are we going to use for spaces that we need for visitors and guests? And also for mechanics or other plumbers or whatever, they're coming in, because that all requires parking. And I think this becomes more of a concern here in Maricopa, because we have very limited public transportation, and the large majority of our workforce drives elsewhere to get to work. So that means that there's going to be more cars in these developments than you would see perhaps in some other communities that don't have as heavy a commuting demand. So I just want to make sure that we are paying close attention to what the zoning code requires when we ask for presentations from developers.
Commissioner Yoakum, noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Commissioner Yoakum. The only thing that I wanted to do is expand on what Commissioner Frank had brought up, and I kind of would like to propose to see if there's a way that we can have a generalized landscape palette. Is that something that we can do that would encompass and cover multifamily, commercial, and residentials? Can we do that?
Chair Huggins, members of the commission, I think that's something that you can give staff direction to look into.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it was something we could do before I had him chase down a rabbit hole.
I think at the very least, I think you can give direction to staff to look into whether or not it's something we can bring back and staff can bring back to you. I do have it noted, Commissioner Frank made that gave direction to staff to do that right now.
Yeah, I would like to see that, and I would like to have a generalized palette. So if you can look into that, that would encompass all of it and just have a standalone document, whereas, we would say in a document like this, please see, and have that be a standalone document. I think that would be beneficial to you guys.
Commissioner Huggins, I will definitely look into that.
Awesome.
And see what other cities are doing as well, and to see if we can come up with some precedents for that.
Okay. I'm smirking because I hate that statement. Just because it doesn't happen outside or happens this way doesn't mean that we can't do it our way. Sure. We don't need to copy. We can set the
precedent.
We can create the wheel for them to copy.
Okay. We'll look into that.
All right. This is action as well, guys.
I have a comment. Excuse me, I have a comment, please.
Okay.
Make it after I make the motion.
Let me make my motion, and then
you can comment.
You can comment, because I would just move approval of the first edition with the noted suggestions and corrections.
All right. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
All right. We do have a motion
Now
and a
she
second.
can-
Now you can comment. Commissioner LaFalle.
In the comments from the public, there was one that I made a note of it and didn't mention it by mistake, but it was on an elevator. And I know, that's very expensive to add on, but I didn't see a reference to accessibility. And I wanted to make sure that that is included when we are drafting this design for like ADA purposes. Is that something that I'm missing, or is it somewhere else where it's referenced?
Commissioner LaFalle, Chair Huggins, it is referenced, but one of the comments made by several commenters, it was in reference to that. So there is going to be additional language that is added to this document before the City Council, and that is high on the list. So we do speak about ADA access and handicap preferential parking, and there is a comment about access to buildings and ground floor units in the document. However, there will be additional language added specifically to need for elevators.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments? There is a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 5.5, GPA 22-03, public hearing, a request by the City of Maricopa for review and approval of a request to amend the general plan use map for approximately 111.1 acres of land from low-density residential, LDR, to master planned community, MPC, generally located at the northwest corner of West Rubin Drive and North Ensenada Road, approximately 1.5 miles west of North Anderson Road. Discussion and action.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Alexander Bosworth. I'm the Assistant Planner here with the City of Maricopa. And tonight I have GPA 22-03, which is a minor general plan amendment for Santa Cruz Ranch. This request is by the City of Maricopa on behalf of iPlan Consulting to rezone approximately 111 acres from existing general plan land use of low-density residential to master plan community. And this might look familiar to you, as this was a previously approved case back in October of last year. And this case is a corrective measure, as the previously approved general plan amendment did not include these 111 acres in the site exhibits and all the just general plan maps that we provided, and it was inadvertently omitted. The plan's original acreage will not increase from the previously approved 1,886 acres. This site is generally on the northwest corner of the road alignments of West Rubin Drive and North Ensenada Road. It is approximately a half-mile west of Anderson Road and 0.65 miles north of West Teal Road. Again, the site is 111 acres in gross area. Parcel number 502-15-002B has no site address at the moment. The existing land use is agriculture and part of it is vacant. The existing general plan land use is low-density residential and the proposed is master plan community. And for the surrounding land uses, please refer to the staff report and the upcoming slides. So this is the site. It is about half a mile west of Anderson Road. And this is the site in accordance to the general plan map. As you can see, master plan community on the southeast, low density residential on the southwest, and the auction to the north and northwest. And this is what was originally approved October 25th of last year. It includes all 1,886 acres for the Santa Cruz Ranch master plan community. And this right here is the site that we are including that was inadvertently left out last year. In the entitlement process, they are in the general plan stage, general plan amendment. This is not an annexation and it is not a rezone. This parcel is currently not within the Maricopa city limits. And the city's general plan is intended to provide more of a framework for the functions within the city. It's not a tool to promote special interests. It's not zoning. It's not a capital improvement plan. And it is adaptable. It's not rigid. And the designation of master plan community, it provides for larger scale development of 160 acres or more. And it includes a true variety of different residential products, such as attached housing, large lots, small lots, and it's with supporting commercial and employment land uses to meet the daily needs of residents. These areas are to include adequate open space, schools, churches, neighborhood facilities, and other such services and amenities. For this case, we abided by the city code's citizen participation requirements. The sign posting and newspaper notice were conducted on February 17th. Both Casa Grande Dispatch and Maricopa Monitor were published. February 21st was when the notification letters were mailed out. March 10th was our neighborhood meeting here at the City Hall Council Chambers. And tonight, March 28th, public hearing. And this is our 600-foot radius map. I do want to point out that during the neighborhood meeting, so one of the concerns was that the mailing radius was not the same as the original plans. Mailing radius was. This is due to the fact that we only included the parcel, which we are currently amending. And the criteria for approval, the amendment is consistent with the general plan. Any change in district boundaries is necessary to achieve a desired balance of land and to increase the inventory of land within a given district. And the amendment will also promote the growth of the city in an orderly manner and protect the health, safety, peace, comfort, and overall general welfare within the city. Therefore, with all this, staff recommends approval of case GPA 22-03, Santa Cruz Ranch, subject to any conditions of approval stated in the staff report and is amended by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
That it?
Oh, that is it, yes.
All right,
Yes, Chair.
thank you. We do have a public hearing on this, so we will go ahead and open up the public hearing. I do have 2 cards, so we will call you guys up and give you 3 minutes. First is going to 644. First is Kristen. State your name and your address.
Kristen Carden, 34745 West Teal Road, Stanfield, Arizona, in the Santa Rosa Ranchos, which is near, I realize, still out of the 600 required feet, but it is included in the same project. So that is wrong to not send out messages that were the same, sent out before about the same project. It seems rude in a way, because now not everybody knew about it. Thankfully, the sign was posted, but it flew away in the wind. And we informed the city about that at the neighborhood meeting. It has not been replaced. Thankfully, someone took a picture of it, so we have that to know when these meetings are. So that this has been really frustrating that we have not been informed of these meetings properly. In my opinion, I realize that it's outside of the regulations, but the regulations should not be that way if it's being included in the project that's coming to our door. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next one is Dave. Again, please state your full name and address.
My name's Dave Klingensmith. I'm at 34560 West Joe Blanca Road in Santa Rosa Rancheros. I have a comment to make about not being notified. That piece of property, that 111 acres, was included in the original plan for Santa Cruz Ranch when we were notified the first time. And then all of a sudden, that little parcel was left out, and then they put it. If it's all attached, and it's close to our home, within 600 feet, we should have been notified. And I think that was too fair to any of us. I found out about the meeting, the residential meeting, by accident, just on a whim, and was able to make the meeting. And I voiced my concerns there on that same deal. If it's part of the 1,886 acres, then it should be included when they notify us, because we are within 600 feet of that 1,886 acres. And I don't think anybody from our development even was notified whatsoever. Not too fair. Not fair play. The other, I think I've addressed the commission before about water and conservation of water. Scottsdale is already, they're squawking now that there's going to be shortages of water, and they're asking people to take cutbacks. Casa Grande has jumped on the bandwagon for the same reason. And to go other than low density is not conserving water. And if you're going to make it high density, and not that I want to hash the same water figures that I gave you last time, but I believe it's like for 6,600 homes, it's going to be 3,336 acre feet, which is well over 1,200,000,000 gallons a year. Just some figures, and those figures came from the EPA. So it's just that. But I really want to stress that we should have been notified on that property, even though we were originally notified, and due to somebody's mistake, and it actually said in the paperwork that it was included in the paperwork they give us at the community meeting. So it was kind of that. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go out to the worldwide internet. Commissioner Sharp.
Madam Chair, if you
sorry,
could...
I got to close them. Gotcha. I was already ahead of you. 6:48. Seeing nobody, anybody else? Seeing nobody, 6:48, we'll close it. Thank you very much. All right, Commissioner Sharp?
I have no comments.
Thank you. Commissioner LaFall?
No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Yocum?
Just a question for the city planners. From what we've heard during the call to the public, have we met our notification requirement?
Yes.
Thank you. No other comment?
Thank you. Commissioner Irving?
Yes. Could you, I remember the whole discussion and the fact that this was left out, because we've already, changed it to a PD. Could you talk a little bit about any major change to the plan that is creative of this 111 acres? In other words, it's now in, what's going to change about what we already had now that we have 111 more acres?
We have the applicant here to help answer that question for you.
Good. Be nice if somebody did.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. Jason Sanks, iPlan Consulting. You may recall I presented on this case a few months ago. If I may clarify, this is really a housekeeping item of, this 111 acres was actually presented to you in our exhibits as part of the case, but through the course of preparing some legal maps and descriptions, it was inadvertently left out through the process, technically speaking, on the legal side. So actually, it was always part of the case, and nothing material has changed within the case itself. There's been no change in the plan since you last saw it. This is just a cleanup and sweep the 111 acres legally back in to the application as it was originally filed. That's why all of the neighbors actually received notice of it. It included the 111 acres originally, but it was basically it was a processing error over the.
And that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, there's been no change.
Basically, this isn't changing anything.
This is actually exactly what you reviewed before.
I just wanted somebody to say that and put it on the record, that nothing major has changed with this, and we've already talked about before.
Exactly.
The same parameters are still there that are still there today were there before.
I just think it's good to put that on the record.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Frank?
And nothing's changed for me either. I was opposed to it before. I'm opposed to it now.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson.
I had the pleasure of attending the March 10th neighborhood meeting, which I too found out Facebook. I think we erred by not including the original mailing list for this property. And I would suggest that in the future, any other mailings that have to go out in regards to this property or a similar situation, that the original mailing list always be used. It may have streamlined it, I don't know, maybe it was an error, maybe it was on purpose, I'm not judging that. But I sat here and talked, and didn't talk. I just listened in the background to the community, the neighbors from that area that came, and that was their biggest complaint. I would also, at this point, request that the commission be notified of neighborhood meetings. I learned a lot, and to sit with these folks and to see staff interact brings me to this meeting with a whole nother outlook. So I would like to know, and I think the commission would like to know, when these neighborhood meetings are being held so we could sit in the background. You guys know I was there. I didn't say a word. I sat over there in the corner and just listened. It was educational to me. I'm relatively new on the commission, still getting to know the staff and who the shakers and the rollers are. And it was functionally a functional advantage to me to come to that meeting. So I would request that we would be notified also, along with using the original mailing list going forward. Thank you.
Chair and Commission, we will take note of that, and we'll speak about that.
Thank you. I really like where that conversation point was headed, and I think that we might want to look at policy moving forward. Again, I understand that there's no major changes. Nothing has changed. This whole project is still the same as today as it was 3 months ago. Nothing there is changing, but that doesn't satisfy our constituents. I think moving forward that if we ever do have an issue like this again, that we indeed have it stated that the entire project is renoticed so that we don't avoid, or so that we don't have this again and we can avoid this type of ill feeling that they might have. The good thing is there is no changes to this, because I think I would have a sticking point if there was any changes to this, because I do think that they're right. But at the end of the day, nothing's changed. So even if we postponed it, all we're doing is postponing paperwork, because that's all this is. But I think that moving forward, we do need to look at, if this ever does happen again, that the entire project is renoticed instead of just the parcel itself. And I think that somewhere along the lines, I know that our notices have the legal jargon that it's all supposed to have, but I think that if we started pushing homeowners to the websites, they'll see these notices as well, and they can see everything. I think that will cut down some of the ill will as well. Use our technology. We found that it is working for us. We got 10 more comments, on our general plan, or our text amendment. So I think that that's something that we need to do, whether or not it's something that you do internally or whatever. We need to make it part of a text amendment or whatever, but I think that we do definitely need, especially as we're coming into these times where more building is occurring, that if something like this happens again, that's how we would deal with it. But outside of this is a discussion action. That's all I have to say, so I'm up for action.
I move approval, since we've already done it once.
We still got to do it again. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Majority rules, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, guys. All right, reports from commission and our staff.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you again, Rick Williams, City of Maricopa Planning and Zoning Manager. For the record, and for those of you calling in this evening, I just passed out a sample agenda and then a contact list for city staff. And And what I wanted to talk briefly about this evening was the consent agenda. Now, we heard, based on the discussions that we had last month, and something that staff has been working with our legal representation to bring to you the consent agenda to our agenda as well. And so as we look to move forward with that, I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about it this evening. I wanted to pass out an agenda that has the consent portion of it in the agenda, because that's what it's going to look like starting next month moving forward. And then just really talk about how the consent agenda is structured and how we want it to function and how it can help us. So the first thing right off the bat, what I would say is, the consent agenda is exactly what it says, and it's for routine items that are very general in nature and that typically we can move along in order to expedite a meeting with one general recommendation and motion. All right? I cannot make this any clearer that this is not to circumvent the process. This is not to speed things up. This is simply to provide an avenue for routine items to be swiftly moved through our development. So, what is a routine item? All right? I've been kind of picking my brain trying to figure out exactly what was, what would I classify, what would be a good example of it? And then it actually presented itself in the form of an actual potential application. And so we want to talk a little bit about, like cell tower sites, for example. So a brand new cell tower site comes in, it requires a temporary, or just went brain dead, conditional use permit, I'm sorry. And so as part of that conditional use permit, it's got to go through the public process, neighborhood meeting, site's got to be posted, and rightfully so. They're bringing a tower in. We need to talk about design. We need to talk about screening of equipment. We need to talk about, what the landscaping around that looks like and how the site is located in there, how the equipment's located in the site. As part of that conditional use permit, we also require that they be constructed to co-locate for other antenna carriers, for other cell phone carriers. So this is a perfect example of, we have an existing site, it's been constructed, we now have a co-locator that we require to go on there, and here they come in through, and we're requiring them to go through the whole public process all over again. Nothing on the site is changing. The height of the pole is not changing. All they're doing is adding some antennas to the pole. That's the only thing that's changing on the site. So this is a perfect example of a routine item that we'll put on the that we'll put on the consent agenda and we'll send right through. There will not always be items on the consent agenda. The original conditional use permit coming through that is, establishing the site, that will not be on the consent agenda. That will come before you and we'll open it up in a public hearing and we'll discuss it. But that's a perfect example of how we can use the consent agenda to our benefit, to streamline the process so that we can engage and have deeper discussions on the things that, on the other items that are before you. So, having said that, in order to really make this work well, what we really need to do is we need to have a clear line of communication between staff and the commissioners this evening, or on these evenings. Because the other thing that makes this consent agenda work is that we're not pulling things off for discussion. We're not having to elongate the process, when we're attempting to shorten it. So what really makes it work well, and I've provided each and every of you, and those of you all calling in on the phone, I'll load these up in an email and send them to you. But I implore you, if we have questions about the consent agenda, call us. We've provided our email addresses, our our telephone lines, and even my personal cell phone. If you have a question, call. If you don't understand something or think something's not right, call. You know, so we can take these routine matters and keep them there. It is very, you know, we can then address it moving forward, send it right through. If there's still outstanding issues, we absolutely can pull it off the agenda. But keep in mind, our goal is to put routine in nature items on this and keep those moving through. So I encourage you, please, if you have the questions, give us a call. We welcome the opportunity to engage with you personally on a one-on-one basis. We welcome that beyond all. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, I think consent agendas are fine as long as you understand we have a right to pull that off.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to get in a position where we have a debate back and forth, because if I feel in my eyes it isn't routine, we have a right to do that. So as long as you understand that side of it, I'm fine with consent agendas, because, you know, I've seen it where people put things on where they don't want to talk about and they understand it, but we think it needs to be debated for things we hear.
But if we have our,
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I'll just echo what Rick was saying. I think if you have questions or clarifications on what something means or definitions from whatever's on the consent agenda, I think those are ideal questions that you could raise with staff ahead of time. And I to your point, if there is a genuine issue of, you know, a substantive issue, it can be pulled. The item can be pulled from the agenda, and everyone has my contact information. You can always reach out asking those questions to me if you'd like.
That's
correct.
Correct. Madam Chair.
Can we get this updated with Nick's information on there as well?
Absolutely.
And then email it out to everybody, and that way everybody feels
Absolutely.
comfortable with this, and there's no questions, comments, or concerns.
Yeah, and, you know, Madam Chair, Commissioners, you know, we're in the infancy of this. You know, we want this to work. Absolutely, Commissioner, I agree with you 100%. You know, there is absolutely no question. And we'll have to work our way through this, because quite frankly, if we're putting the same things on that are, you know, they're consistently getting pulled, you know, then we need to take a look at what we're putting on consent agenda. You know, maybe it's not as routine as we think it is.
Right.
You know, I mean.
Yeah, we are a unique bunch, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, and it's all about transparency and standing up there and, you know, and trying to do what's best for us. So we're committed to working with you on that. And we're hoping y'all will be committed to working with us. And like I said, we welcome the dialogue. You know, that will make us all better and stronger as we move forward through this.
Bill, you had something you wanted to add?
I do. In general, I have no problem with consent agendas. I think they are a valuable tool. I have, however, seen them misused.
Yep.
Most recently with our city council, and I wrote to them about some of the things, buying real property and passing ordinances via consent agendas.
Right.
I reviewed the Arizona Cities and Towns Manual, as well as the Arizona revised statute that talks about consent agendas. And it talks about things that require technical comment, should not be on it. Anything that may arouse considerable public interest, and it uses the word controversial items. So, like, you know, apartments are pretty controversial right now, parking, you know, these types of things, water. So I will be watchdogging what's on there, because I have really been critical and wrote to our city council twice in the last 3 or 4 months about items on their consent agenda, because on the outside looking in, it almost looks like a strategy.
Right.
To move something through the process with as little attention as possible. And I hate to have to say that, but sometimes that's what it looks like. I support consent agendas when they're used appropriately. Thank you.
Oh, I don't think they're going to be able to pull anything over our eyes, to be honest with you. All right, anything else? All right, I think we got that covered. Anything else you want to say to us?
No, just...
Well, I have a few comments regarding the consent agenda,
Go ahead.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Well, Rick, you and I, we've talked about this on a few occasions, and I share Bill's general both appreciation for a consent agenda, but also concern. My concern is more logistical. Is there going to be a cutoff on the amount of items in a consent agenda? I know you're not going to be giving full presentations on each item. I guess I'm just trying to get a sense for the depth, breadth, and scope of how you're going to go into some of this information. If it's pretty routine in nature, as you've indicated, and it's largely administrative, I don't think we as a commission need the minutia. I don't think we need the level of detail that we would see from a typical presentation, but we still want an understanding, at least for you to speak to some of the more challenging cases that are still largely administrative. And again, I think I've shared with you that the goal for me is to just a little bit more transparency. Again, not necessarily accountability, but just transparency into the things that are happening in the planning department that are administrative in nature, but do have a real on-the-ground field impact that people see and live with every day.
Right. No, Madam Chair, Commissioner, we've all seen it. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen good implementations of it, and I've seen poor implementations of it. I think as long as we keep the dialogue open and we keep, holding ourselves accountable, we want to be the best that we can be. We're here in a volunteer purpose, serving a purpose, and we want to have the best and most efficient impact we can. And we can utilize this tool in appropriate situations to help us move forward. Because to be quite frankly with you, what I really want to get into are the nuts and bolts of our tools that we use and make those stronger, to give us more of ability to, as we move through this. And the more that we can streamline these processes and spend more time on that, then I think the better off we're going to be. I think if we, I can't imagine a scenario, we're just not going to allow that to happen because we're always going to try and get a little bit better. So you have my 100%, undivided commitment to make us the best, most efficient body we can be moving forward. And this is a valuable tool in doing that. And I assure you that we will continue to have conversations and we will continue to constantly evaluate who we are, what we are, and how we do business. And we're not going to go down that road. That's my commitment to you and to the people of this city. So.
Thank you, Rick. I really do appreciate that.
My pleasure, sir.
Thanks. Anything else?
Just wanted to mention we've got some really neat things going on. I don't think we quite want to let the, we can. We're working on a general plan update. We're in the infancy starts of that. We're also working on a transportation master plan update that we're in the very infancies of that. We're just kicking those off. We've been having scope meetings moving forward. As we start to get deeper and deeper into this and get to the public outreach portions of this, we will certainly be involving you all in those public conversations and keep you advised as we go along the way. We've got some neat things coming down. We're looking at, revising our single-family residential design guidelines. We're looking at creating commercial and industrial guidelines. We've got some significant text amendments coming in to strengthen things up as far as our ordinance and some of the other tools that we use. So we're really looking forward to getting involved with that with y'all. And with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation, and just thank y'all very much. Be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Frank.
Yes, you said you're updating the transportation master plan, was it?
Yeah, it's more like creating it.
Okay. Is it going to involve new traffic modeling and forecasting?
Yep, and we're working with Pinal County and Michael Baker as a consultant. Ben and the CIP boys would be a much better outlet for that, but I believe that we are planning on bringing an update to y'all very soon that will be brought by the CIP department. So I was a little worried about, speaking too quickly of it, but it's in the works and it's in its infancy start.
Oh, we'll pick that one apart.
Thank you.
Big time. Anything else? Only thing I said, again, if you could.
Yeah, we're going to upgrade that with Nick's information on it, and Brittany will email that all out to y'all tomorrow.
Right.
And I'll go ahead and attach a new agenda to it as well, so y'all can have that through email.
Okay. I think that's it. If there's anything else, I'll take a motion at 7:13. Say, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Thanks, guys. I was going to say, you guys.